Thank you. Welcome to the inaugural edition of The Checkout, our monthly quick read newsletter, where we explore what's happening within the retail space, interesting trends, and overall relevant happenings within the retail space. Because our inaugural edition happens to be the January edition, which focuses on December, predominant theme within this edition is going to be holiday 2011. Now what we're going to see, we're going to look at a couple of macro trends. I believe we have two macro trends that we're going to talk about from 2011 as a whole. We're then going to look specifically against Loblaw, Sobeys, and Longo's, and what we saw on the floor during the holiday season. And then we're going to move into a sort of relevant trend that we saw sort of come to light within the holiday 2011 season. So let's start off by looking at a couple of data points or interesting information that we saw come out of the season. Average holiday spend on entertaining is up year over year. So 2010, the average spend was approximately $203 per person. Now this is on entertaining. Okay, this isn't specific to gifting or any of that stuff. This is purely entertaining. And 2011 was up to 307, which is an increase of 50%, which is quite substantial. Fine, mind you, in 2010, we're marred in a little bit of a recession, but we've come out of it, and the trend is that we're going to continue to do that. Another piece of quite interesting information, for me anyway, was when are Canadians starting their shopping? If you go back as far as 2005 and follow the trend up till now, you'll see that there's a steady increase in the months before portion of this pie chart. Shoppers are getting way ahead of the shopping season now, more than. We're almost up to half of the shoppers spending earlier in the season. There's a number of different reasons for this potentially, but one, as far as I believe, is we're starting to see a trend where we're following what is happening in the US with respect to Thanksgiving. There's getting a lot more airtime, a lot more play in Canada around Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So it's starting to make a lot more sense that we're starting to follow that shopping trend. When I was in the malls this US Thanksgiving season, Banana Republic and a number of different stores had sales exactly the same as the US, because our retailers are starting to get a little frustrated with losing our shoppers to the US, so they're starting to mirror and copy, which I find quite interesting. Another good data point here is who spends the most from a province point of view. Alberta, the highest. Prince Edward Island was the lowest, which shocked me a little bit. I knew it would be a maritime province, but I wasn't 100% certain that it would be PI. But the fact that Alberta spend about $1,500 during the Christmas holiday season shocked me, which is a high number, especially when you compare it to the US. Let's step back a little and look more macro trends now. Those were specific, quick little data points that we saw around this holiday season. Let's step back a bit, and what did we notice in general overall for 2011? Consumer confidence. Shoppers and consumers during this time frame sent quite mixed signals. Consumer confidence was supposed to be the lowest it's been in 2.5 years. But during the holiday season, the spend was up almost 5%. Again, traffic density was down, so you could get to a mall, you could walk around and think, wow, there's not much going on. Truth of the matter is that buying season extended, and it's continuing to expand like I just said. With respect to Black Friday, 8.3% increase over last year, purchases here in Canada. And then Cyber Monday up 15%. A lot of that 15% is online sales with respect to Cyber Monday. But Black Friday, it is feet in stores retail buying. I found that quite interesting. And I think that trend is going to continue as we get more and more play and more exposure to the US Thanksgiving and Canadian retailers copying that. So why wouldn't a Canadian shopper want to get ahead of the game as opposed to cramming themselves into a mall a week and a half before Christmas? Another interesting development that we're seeing is this US expansion of retailers north. There are a great deal of bricks and mortar, not just online, bricks and mortar retailers coming up, whether it's J. Crew, Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, Marshalls. You can't drive, especially in a suburban area, you can't drive somewhere where there's a big box store without noticing a new presence of a US retailer. Marry that with the fact that Target announced they're coming heavy is going to be good news for the shopper, because one, it's going to create more competition, hopefully driving prices down. It's going to create more opportunity and more options for you, and hopefully it's going to bring retail spaces out to where the shoppers are living more and more, and expanding more and more and more. That said, it's going to put a tremendous amount of strain on the existing workforce. And by strain, I mean there's only so many skilled, educated, and experienced shoppers that can work in these retail marketplaces or these retailers. So now these US companies that come in are going to overspend to get you to switch where you work. So say you work at Walmart, someone's going to come in, overspend, and pay you a little more to hopefully so you come over and work at Target, which is going to put strain on the Walmarts and the other groups and the other existing US or Canadian retailers and Canadian retailers in our marketplace. And it's not just going to be limited to the retail floor workers, you know, the sales staff or the stock staff. This is going all the way up to the C-suites, because we're going to have a CEO of Target or a president of Target Canada. I know we already have one, but we're going to need those. So there's going to be the pressure on every single level all the way up, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as more and more of these retailers migrate north. Like I said, those are two quick trends or two quick relevant bits of information that we noticed. Now let's start getting a little granular and see what actually happened on the floor at a couple of different retailers. I'm going to start at Loblaw, where I always like to start. I wasn't so shocked about what I did see. I was more shocked about what I didn't see. Specifically, I didn't see an awful lot of branded activity during the holiday time frame. There were a few brands such as Coca-Cola and brands like that that were doing executions at this time of season, at this time of year. But what I noticed was the absolute dominance of retailer private label during this time frame. You couldn't walk in a store, a Loblaw store, an RCSS, whatever it is, without being inundated with private label, without being inundated with PC. Now fine, most shoppers will tell you, yeah, President's Choice is a brand, and it is one of the most well-known brands here in Canada, but you couldn't walk down an aisle without being hit by an innovation, a sign, a message, something to do with President's Choice. It was good and bad, and I think there's a number of different reasons for that. I think Loblaw are over-innovating themselves. They're doing innovation for innovation's sake. You know, why come up with all these line extensions that last 2 months and then are gone? And spend an awful lot of time, energy, and money in R&D and floor space and promotional materials when it comes and goes. You know, I guess you got to fill out your insider's report, though, right? Also, marry that with the fact that retailers don't generally tend to spend a lot of time, energy, or focus on brands at this time of year because, one, their workforce, their sales staff on the floor are so stretched and stressed with keeping stock on shelf, with ensuring that there's a replenishment, that they don't want to have to focus on specific brands and what's going on in this specific area. Two, hopefully, from a retailer point of view, traffic is up, so they want a clean floor. They don't want carts bumping into carts, so they want as much space as they possibly can for navigation and people to move around the store. And finally, Loblaw moving towards their platform programming in 2012. I think a lot of the manufacturers were holding back on their spend, uncertain of exactly where to place their dollars in order to properly generate the excitement or properly generate the ROI out of those dollars. Another interesting thing that I saw, for lack of a better word, at Loblaw this year were a lot of these category initiatives. It appears as though Loblaws are listening to their shoppers and helping and aiding in the findability of products. What you're looking at here, or what I'm looking at here, is the coffee aisle at the Leaside Loblaws. Now, coffee is one of the most confusing and difficult sections for a shopper to browse and shop. It is what we call a grab-and-go category. You walk down the aisle, you see your brand, you grab it, and away you go. That's generally what happens. There are a few that step back and browse, but when they step back and browse, they become confused. So Loblaw are doing a good job at trying to educate their shopper around the difference between a mild, a medium, and a bold, a drip and an on-demand, these types of things. Which is good, which is important, because they're trying to plush you up. They're trying to get you to buy the more premium products. What I find very interesting, and actually made me smile when I was in store, that not every store, even within Loblaw, not every store has the exact same planogram. So it's impossible to create a one-size-fits-all signage solution for coffee. What you see here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you're seeing here is a 20-foot section of coffee. I've seen 8-foot sections in some stores, all the way up to 24-foot sections. So the product is never going to be in the same spot on the shelf at every single Loblaw or every single RCSS store. That's it. So what that creates is now you've got these blade signs that you have to communicate everything on, and in this section you can put 6 of them down, so it now ends up being wallpaper. So nothing really stands out. A great executional piece of advice I would give Loblaw, if they ever asked me, would be color-coded pieces or color-coded elements in front of the brands or the products that tie directly back to the category section. For instance, here you see like Light and Lively, for instance, is pink. So that's a mild coffee. So it would be good if in front of each of the mild coffees in the section there was a pink wobbler or a pink shelf strip, or even more than all of them. What if just the ones that were on feature? So not only are you driving to the products that are on feature, you're also driving to help in the communication and findability of these products. So those were interesting things that I saw at Loblaws this year. Sobeys. Again, same thing, similar to LCL. Brands were absent. Interestingly though, the brands that were present here at Sobeys were the exact same brands that were present at Loblaw, and again present at Longo's. So the activity from a brand was everywhere, or it was nowhere. There was no true shopper marketing in my definition of the term, where we executed a specific thing at a specific retailer, and this is why. They either did it all or they did nothing. That said, of all the full store private label sensations here, private label initiatives, I thought Sobeys did the best. I thought their imagery was decadent. It didn't focus on the product in package. It focused on the product at the point of eating, or at the point of consumption, or at the point of display within your home. It didn't so much focus on here's a can of, or here's a box of, which a couple of other retailers did. It focused on here it is beautifully displayed, presented, and ready to eat. They also did a great job in the copy. You know, blissful around the whole baking, and it made me smile. It actually made me pick up some Sensations products. So they did a very good job of not only dominating the floor space, but also communicating in a way that made me want to eat and pick up their product. Off to Longo's. We all know Longo's for great produce, fantastic meats, deli cheese section that second to none within the grocery channel, and overall shopping experience. What I don't think of Longo's for is baking. So completely understand the strategy, completely appreciate the strategy of getting baking on the mind and thought of the shopper while they're shopping. Right, I do have to do a bake sale for Annie or Stevie this week. Right, I did promise that I would bake with my daughter this weekend. Or mom's coming over and I know she loves to bake with the granddaughter, so I need to get some stuff. Totally get that strategy and think it's fantastic. However, the execution of the signage, to me, was a little off. Elements were parallel to shelf, above sight lines, and only in section. If I really wanted to get my baking section on the minds of mom, I would have done it out of section, in other extremely well-traveled sections, like the deli section with the cheese. Why not? Sometimes you use cheese in baking anyway. Signage should be perpendicular to shelf. If I'm standing at an end looking down that aisle thinking, do I even need to go down this aisle? I'm not going to have a visual cue, which is what the signage is supposed to be, to remind me to go down and get it. And when I am in section, and I happen to be walking down the aisle, it needs to be eye level. It needs to be able to capture. I need to be able to see it quick, understand it, and act. The fact that I have to look up above a shelf, if I'm already standing there looking at the shelf looking up, I've already got baking on my mind. So to me, it could have been done a little better. Totally understand the strategy. Think it's fantastic and bang on, but I just would have executed a little differently. One thing Longos are fantastic at is HMR. HMR in the modern day grocery store is one of the highest margin categories that they can offer. So driving HMR is vital. Here, add to that, sorry, let me step back a second. Add to that, almost 70% of moms still don't know what they're making for dinner while on their way home. And I say moms because unfortunately mom still does is still predominantly responsible for the shopping and then for the cooking of the weekday meals. Dad has kind of started to help out a little bit more on the weekend. Good for us dads. Most of the time it's the summer around the barbecue. But with respect to the weekday dinners at home, mom is still predominantly into it. So that's why I say mom. Here you see Longos with a festive meal deal at $14.99. Fresh roasted chicken, any two sides, and what's this? A fresh new panettone, private label panettone. Fantastic. I'm going to grab that as I walk in. So I walk in the door at Longos. First thing I see is HMR. Bang, right beside it is a nice T-stand display that you see here. This was actually the flyer. T-stand display communicating what it is, what the overall meal solution is, as well as when you communicate with the staff behind the HMR counter, this is what they're driving. So, and marry that with the fact that the panettone is right there. I don't have to go anywhere else in the store to go and get the free piece. So I go in, I get my chicken, my two sides are right there, bang, bang, done, panettone in my hand, I can pay right there, I'm out the same door I came in, easy, done, I'm home in 5 minutes. Fantastic. And what the beauty of this execution is it started late in November. Because it started late in November, it got this panettone in the hands of the shopper, mom, way early for the season. So she takes it home with this meal, serves it up with the meal. Little Johnny and Stevie are like, wow, we get dessert too, mom's awesome, thanks mom. Look. They try it, they love it. It's a good product. Chances are she's going to go back and buy it again, not only for her family, but also when she's entertaining, you know, with her friends and whatnot. Fantastic execution, fantastic idea, simple, don't need to overthink it, and a great way to drive incremental future sales. Okay, we're almost there. From a trend point of view, what did we see happening specific to this time of year? So these are not the macro trends that we touched on earlier. These are more focused trends. Remember I said there wasn't a lot of branded activity on the floor. There wasn't a lot of branded promotion. That said, lots of brands had specialty packs this year. More than I've ever seen before. Whether it be the Coke or bottle, Rice Krispies have their usual brand line extension, which is the green and the red Rice Krispie squares. Kinder came out with their train, the snowman and the elves and all being pulled, la la la, beautiful. Ziploc, fantastic execution, tied around or tied into the whole baking time of year. You need to store your product, you need to ship them somewhere, you need to give them to Stevie while he's going to go have a play date with so-and-so and you want to take a bunch of cookies. Not only did they offer the Ziploc bags, not only did they have the images of cookies on the pack, they also had recipes inside and around the store. So Ziploc did a good job, and then Cadbury. Toblerone always have a sleeve on the outside of their Toblerone bar, commemorative sleeve, focusing on the season, But they even went further than that. They created a bag look, so it's a package, there's no separate bag, you don't take it out, that had a handle so it looked like a designer, as much as you can look like a designer bag sitting on a shelf, bag, so you could give this as a gift. You felt better about giving it as a gift versus just your regular packaging. So there were a number of brands that, although weren't participating off shelf, were kind of doing some subtle cool stuff on shelf. Now there was no call outs, there was very few communication saying, hey, special pack, look at me. It just kind of stood out when you looked at your existing shelf set. The emergence of mobile moms. Mom is still the household's #1 holiday shopper at 80%. Whether that's groceries, whether that's gifts, whatever it is, mom still does 80% of that shopping. Which makes it easy, because I say I'm done my shopping months ahead. Of course I am, I don't have to buy for one. because my wife does all the rest. But what I find very interesting is 43% of the moms shopped online for part or all of their shopping. So when it comes to gifting, a larger proportion of moms are buying their entire gifting set online. They're not even going to a mall. And if they are going to a mall, there's a good chance that they're using that as a showroom. So chances are they go and they know that Stevie wants, the newest iPod Touch. Or you go to Toys R Us because, the latest Ninjago toy is there, and mom's not exactly sure what one it is, and she's like, okay, I'm supposed to get the blue one. I've been told I gotta get the blue one. So they go to Toys R Us, they look, they find the blue one. Okay, I get it. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna order that online because I know I can save X dollars. That's up almost 10% versus a year ago. That's a marked increase in a year. But the moms that are out and about, walking the stores and in the retail, 42% of those use their cell phone during their grocery trip. Now, whether that's 31% who have a list on their mobile device, that's what I do. I don't like the post-it notes or the memo pad anymore. I put it all in my mobile device, or I'm at work doing my shopping list, email it to myself because I know I'll forget, and then when I'm in the store on my way home, punch it up and there it is. 45% of moms use the mobile device to locate a store. Clearly not for their grocery trip, because hopefully mom knows where her local grocery store is. She's been there enough times. It's more for where's the closest Toys R Us? Where is the Apple store that I know I need to go into? And then in store, in front of the aisle, 21%, and these are all Canadian data, 21% of moms use this device to compare prices. 21% this year. So up a great deal from last year, following that absolute trend of the US. We're a couple of years behind, but we are mirroring that line. And I thought all those data points were extremely interesting with respect to how do moms shop, and how are moms shopping, and how is the path to purchase changing with respect to the mobile device, and where is it being inserted along that path. Finally, holiday giving. The recession in North America, I'll say, forced us to relook the dollar, and what does that dollar truly mean, and how important is it to me? So what am I going to do with that dollar? Okay. That said, just over 50% of Canadians donated this year to a charity during the holiday time frame. 65% of our US, our friends to the south, donated during this time frame. The difference being, we donate more frequently throughout the year, and when we donate, we generally tend to donate more. Whereas the US donate once, sometimes twice a year, and holiday is always one of those time frames where they donate. 66% of Canadians feel there is a constant pressure to donate to a charity during the holiday time frame. They feel that they're being overwhelmed with donation requests. So although we're donating 50% of the time, or 50% of us donate during the holiday season, we still feel a little guilted into it, and the ones that don't donate are like, more messages? Do I really need to hear more messages about get me to donate, get me to donate, get me to donate? So that's very interesting. One thing I found fantastic. Canadians have made a shift from donating money to donating time. So although 50% of us donated dollars to charity, a lot of us are also donating our time. Whether that's helping to serve breakfast at a local school, whether that's helping at your local shelters, whether that's your hockey team or your kids' hockey team, going and helping put together the baskets for the needy. We've made a shift from giving money to giving time. That's what I did, that's what I would do, and that's where I want to do more of, is give more of my time versus my money. Because I'm not confident, I know where my money is going, that's just me. Ask anyone, I'm a little skeptical about that kind of stuff. But I think it's nice, it warms my heart to think that Canadians are giving more of their time than just their dollars. So there you go. There's the inaugural edition of the Checkout. Come back in a couple weeks. We're going to have our second edition, which is obviously going to be our February edition, which focuses on the January timeframe, which is going to be health and wellness theme and Super Bowl. Because I know yesterday I walked into a place and I couldn't beat a cat without hitting a Super Bowl display, or I couldn't swing a cat without hitting a Super Bowl display. So come back in a couple of weeks, check in again, and you'll see the February edition of the Checkout out. Thank you.